Shalom, giving all honor, all praise, and all glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rachak Double honors to the elder apostles and bishops of the great millstone that rule well. And as always, peace, blessings, and salutations unto those who like tabernacle of David scattered abroad across the four winds of the earth. And this lesson is just going to be more so an exhortation / encouragement. Every once in a while, I'll try to do these kind of videos, just in the spirit. And, it's definitely needful for these times that we're coming into. And, knowing, being a part of this walk, there's certain things that get thrown at you, and it's, it's meant to, shape you up. It's meant to test your mental and faithful strength, your endurance, and you're gonna come across certain situations, being under this curse, things don't always go your way, so certain things might happen that may wear you out, it might burden you, but in this walk of ours, you gotta know when to just throw it all in the Most High's hands and strip off every unnecessary weight, that may burden you. All right. Now, even Apostle Paul said, I could do all things through Yahushai, which strengthens me. So when we read on, Yahushai, who was the author and finisher of our faith, and we see his example, his walk, the main thing that was dear unto him, that made him continue to move forward, despite, all the opposition that he had to take, the persecution he had to suffer, the betrayal, people constantly challenging him. What was in his mind was, I got to continue my Father's business. I got to finish the work. That's priority. That's key. And he stayed true to it until his final moment. So we look to him, for that same encouragement. He even encouraged his disciples when he said, in the world you shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I overcame the world. So they had Yahushai, who they walked with in the flesh, as an example. And he prepared them, and then they went on and they took their journey. And they stayed the course. They endured the race that was before them. So us, being at the final stretch, things is finna get rough. It's not going to be easy. That's why the scriptures say, through much tribulation shall we enter into the kingdom. But we cannot let, any affliction, any situation that we're faced with weigh us down to where we can't move forward. All right. And I'm saying, just in general. All right. Things get out of hand, or, things get a bit heavy. You still have no excuse to, put down the plow, to get weak and start taking breaks. Take your mind completely off the truth. That's where you're heading down a losing journey. All right. And that's what Satan wants you to do. All right. So just to be mindful. So let me grab this in Hebrews, the 12th chapter, and I'm gonna read it in the NLT. And it says, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a huge crowd of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off every weight that slows us down. And that's meaning, any unnecessary thing that's going to bring any type of hindrance to your walk in the ministry. Whether it be these temptations, whether it be affliction, you fighting off, demons, you taking losses, as far as this world is concerned. You might not be doing as good as these other people that you see, living in the world. You got wicked niggas, and they seem to be living well. You might see, you know, Jake. They out there stunting hard. They living in good homes. They got luxurious vehicles. You don't want to be caught up in that. You don't want to envy the glory of a sinner, because you don't know what their end will be. You actually in a better position, because being in this position where you're not super rich and your mind is focused on material possessions, luxury, wealth, but you also are not piss poor. You're not homeless. All right, you're living, by everyday means, and you're getting your daily necessities. You're in a better space where you can actually focus on a mission. You can keep your eyes single. Anything that can become a hindrance to you, it will slow you down. If you allow it, to be a hindrance to you, it will slow you down. Or even dealing with, because sometimes you might have situations where you're feeling like you might need, I need to get away, which there's nothing wrong with that. You can go to somewhere where it's, peaceful. You need some peace, to get a peace of mind. You want to meditate. You want to get away from all of the madness. But if, you thinking you catching all this hell, so I need to go away for 2 months to Cancun. I need to go on a vacation. Let me go hit, one of these islands somewhere. And you sipping on the beach. You getting the spa treatment. You're getting all these women. You eating the best foods, but you went away for 2 months, and this truth is not even on your mind, because you let this life get to you. So now the truth have to take a break. They got to sit on the back burner for a couple months because you feel like you're owed that. Strip off every weight that slows us down. And that could be anything in this world that could be used against you. The cares of this life, and anxieties, temptation, is especially the sin that so easily trips us up. Scriptures talk about the deceitfulness of sin. That can creep up on you as well. You got to be very careful. It says, and let us run with endurance the race the Most High has set before us. And you got to make it all the way to the finish line. All right, the finish line is basically into the chariot. That's the finish line. If you ain't in that ship, when Yahushua shows up with the angels, you didn't finish. And that's why it's important to count the cost to see if you have enough to finish building. All right, because this is the fight that you got to fight all the way to the end. You got to go to the complete distance. You start getting weak in the later rounds, you're probably going to get knocked out. All right, and we're pressing towards the mark of this high calling, the high prize. So who is the champion of it, of this whole walk, this whole journey? Yahushua. The next verse, it says, we do this by keeping our eyes on Yahushua, the champion who initiates and perfects our faith. Because of the joy awaiting him, he endured the cross. He had to go through what he had to go through, the humiliation, the constantly being challenged, all right, being evil spoken against, being slandered, all right, being tempted in the flesh. It says, disregarding its shame, now he is seated in the high Slakia. Now he is seated in the place of honor besides the Most High's throne. And that's the highest honor you can ever receive, is to sit on his right hand. And that was, his eye was single. He had that in his mind, that once I complete this, everything is going to obey me after that. The Lord's going to reward me with that. So, it's the same thing with us. All right. Lay aside every weight, because we have a long race ahead of us. So let me go from there. Let me get this in Revelation 2. And this is to the church in Ephesus. And let me get actually, let me jump down. Well, let me go to the KJV. Yeah, here it is. So yeah, this is a message to the church of Ephesus, right? It says Revelation 2:1. It says, unto the angel of the church of Ephesus write, these things saith he that holdeth the 7 stars in his right hand, who walketh in the midst of the 7 golden candlesticks. I know thy works and thy labor and thy patience, because it goes hand in hand. All right, your works, which you distribute, what you putting in, because this thing of ours is hands on. It's about dedication, and it's also about engagement. And you want to be fully engaged in this thing. You figure you take a break, you're not fully engaged. I'm gonna stop on this track, on this road, on my walk, and I'm gonna just camp out. I'm gonna just chill. I'm gonna make myself comfortable. And you don't know how much time we have. Yahweh Shai said he's coming as a thief in the night. No man knows the hour or the day. So we got to do this thing with patience, regardless of whatever comes our way. It says, and how thou canst not bear them which are evil, and thou hast tried them which say they are apostles, and are not, and has found them liars, and has borne, and has patience, and for my name's sake has labored, and has not fainted. So there was good things the Lord addressed each church with, and there was also negative things that he acknowledged about each church. The good thing about this church was they continued, they labored, they were patient. All right, they were very patient. All right, they didn't grow faint in their faith. All right, so we have to have the same diligence and not to get faint-hearted. Yeah, like it says in was that Proverbs 24? If thou faint in a day of adversity, thy strength is small. Is that Proverbs 24:10? Yeah, Proverbs 24:10, and this is in the NLT, it says, if you fail under pressure, your strength is too small. Therefore, you're not gonna be able to bear your cross. And Yahushua, he all his disciples, all his servants, they must be able to carry that load the whole entire way until the finish line. If you're not able to bear it, you can't be his disciple. And he made that crystal clear. So whatever your burden is, all right, the cares of his life, you know, what did Paul say to Timothy? Because this can slow you down as well, having, you know, cares and anxieties attached to this world. You know, what about my job? I have a corporate job, you know, and I don't want my boss to know what I'm involved in. And, you know, he might see me, he might run into me, you know, or my woman, she's threatening to leave and take my children, you know, and then I might have to, you know, lose my home or whatever else may be. These is all cares of this life. You shouldn't count any of it dear unto you. Now, yeah, you're supposed to love your family, you know, love your wife, because, you know, even Yahushua instructs the men to love their wives. But there's a balance with that too. You can't let her be a hindrance to your walk, because he even said, though they that have wives be as though they have none. And also he said, if you love your mother, your father, your mother, your sister, your brother, your children, or even your wife, all right, you love them more than you love me, you can't be my disciple. So those can be weights on you as well. You trying to please the family, being a family man. So you got to constantly take them out on trips, spend a bunch of money and not budget because you want to keep them happy. No, you pay your bills, keep the roof over your head, you know, put food on the table, but you know what you have to do. So this is 2 Timothy 2:3. It says, endure suffering along with me as a good soldier of Yahushua HaMashiach. This is in the NLT. Soldiers don't get tied up in the affairs of civilian life, for then they cannot please the officer who enlisted them. You know, and all the things pertaining to this current life. We're dead in Yahushua. All right, it's like if we're alive in Yahushua, we're dead to this world. We're not to love the world, neither the things that are in it. You know, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. Let Jake have it, man. If they look like they up and they winning, hey, let them have it. Esau on the left-hand side, the elite, you know, they really thinking that they about to rub their hands together and put the finishing touches on their new world order, and then they just gonna, you know, go up into them underground bunkers and let everybody just, you know, waste each other out, clear each other out, and then they're gonna resurface on the earth and have the earth to themselves. That's the pride of their heart deceiving them. But we know how it's gonna end for E, because the Lord already got it written. Esau is gonna go down hard. All right. And what's going to come after that? The rule of Jacob. So the hell with what's going on this side, man. All right. The hell with trying to keep up with the Joneses. The hell with trying to, you know, please these little skanks out here that really don't have any true value. All right. The only one you should be concerned with pleasing is him up above. All right, the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. That is it. All right, so let's continue on. It says, and athletes cannot win the prize unless they follow the rules. All right, and you know, we got to follow the rules up until the game is over with, until we win the game. Okay, you can't quit in the middle of the game, or you know, nah. And in this particular one, there ain't no halftime. Okay, you going the full the full marathon. You're going through you're going the whole way. Are you going to go the distance with no breaks? You got the water already. The water is the river of living water, which is this truth. Protection gear, you got the helmet of salvation. All right, you got the shield of faith. So we got to continue to fight. It says, and hardworking farmers should be the first to enjoy the fruit of their labor. Think about what I am saying. The Lord will help you understand all these things. All right. So we just got to be willing to endure everything, man. All right. So let's go. Let me get one more verse. Matter of fact, let me go to the Apocrypha. Let me get that in Sirach, the 2nd chapter. And this is just off the head. I don't have none of this written, but the Spirit just had me sit down and just, you know, put this out, you know, as a, you know, as encouragement and also as an exhortation, and I apply this to myself as well. All right. It's Sirach 2:1. It says, "My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation, set thy heart aright, and constantly endure, and make not haste in the time of trouble." Right? Constantly endure. Keep, you know, using the term endure or endurance. You know, we got to follow through, you know, given the measure of faith that was given to us. All right. And it says, and make not haste in a time of trouble. You know, don't make a decision panicking because, you know, you're in the flesh. All right. It says, cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end. Whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a low estate. And that there can be a weight. You know, that can be a weight that can slow you down when you brought down to a low estate, because you might not be used to it. You know, and it can happen. You can go from, you know, driving something nice to now you got to, you know, ride a bike, ride a damn scooter, catch the bus, get rides from brothers, you know, because you might be suffering a car wreck. You know, Paul suffered a shipwreck. We're here in Babylon, you know, on the road, we get car wreck. Our horses be out of commission. But that's, you know, that's nothing but, you know, light affliction. That's light. Before you know it, the Lord can throw you a bone. You know, you might get an opportunity or a raise at your job or whatever the case may be, where you can get you a better car, a better vehicle. So these things get thrown at us just to test where we at, our faith levels. See how much weight you can carry. Some brothers is built to deal with, you know, multiple things at a time and can handle it. That's based on that brother's faith in his strength. Everybody's strength is different. But the key is, you know, enduring it. Whatever is placed upon you, endure it. And even it says, it was at Psalms 55:22, cast thy burden upon the Lord and he will sustain thee. So you got to put your trust fully in him. If you want him to defend you, because it says that at the end of the chapter. All right. You're not going to be defended when you faint-hearted because you don't believe. It says, whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully and be patient when thou art tried. It's like when thou art changed to a lower state. For gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. Believe in him, and he will help thee. Order thy way aright, and trust in him. Ye that fear the Lord, wait for his mercy, and go not aside, lest ye fall. Don't veer off to the left or to the right. Ponder thy path and walk straight forward. Okay. So, y'all can read the rest of this chapter, because it goes into the other side to it. That if you don't endure, if you don't have patience, and you start to, lose out, and you start getting weak and slowing down, and then you just start overall giving up. As the scriptures say, blessed is he whose conscience have not condemned him, and whose hope he hasn't fallen from the hope in the Lord. You don't want to fall from that hope. Start to feel hopeless because you think that the Lord ain't moving on your time. You think he should be favorable to you for every little thing, or that he needs to answer, right away on your timing. That's not how it works, man. Sometimes the Lord leave you in situations and let you figure it out. All right. So that's pretty much the basis of this lesson, man. Strip off every weight. All right, anything that's gonna slow you down or hinder you. A job, your family. Because, hey, yeah, your family might be a burden to you too. But you just got to know that this life is temporary, man. Job, he went through all the hell that he caught, and it didn't strip away not one bit of faith that he had. He took it on. Though he slay me, yet will I put my trust in him. That was his attitude. And he endured everything he suffered, and then the Lord at the end increased him double. So that's pretty much it. And hopefully y'all were edified and give all honor, praise, and glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. And to the next one, Shalom.